You done it again. You impressed me once more within this video I'm about to react and give you helpful tips and tricks. Well, let's get started.
My cousin Janetti has been begging me for years to make her a knife. And not just any knife. Junker Queen's blade from Overwatch. Now this thing is ridiculous. There's knobs, there's spikes, there's random metal chunks welded all over the place. With the tools I've got, the weather trying to freeze me, and a plan that should definitely work, what could go wrong?
Okay, I'm gonna be using some leaf spring for the knife steel. It's like 1.5 feet or something.
Last year, I told Janetti that I would make her Junker Queen's knife for Christmas. I started making it out of wood, but it broke and I gave up. She was expecting me to give it to her, and I felt really bad when I showed up on Christmas morning with nothing to give.
The whole thing is covered in paint, and there's like a weird sticker on the back.
Fire could work as well as grinding. All you need is to set up your forge, scrape off all the white ashes. Do not breathe in the smoke, though, if there's any at all. Anyway, continue.
So I gotta grind all that stuff off too.
But this year for Christmas, things are going to be so much better because I'm actually going to do it this time, and it will be the real deal. And it's not just going to be some hunk of wood.
Alright, this thing is all ground out. Let's start forging.
Before we actually dive into this project, let's reflect upon how ridiculous this knife really is. There's random knobs and spikes jutting out all over the place, which are going to be super hard to try to make. It's also literally cut in half down the middle, which has got to be the most stupid knife design of all time.
I've seen super knife designs fail on that show particularly. So yeah, video game knives are not supposed to be, well, how do I say this in the nicest way possible? Um, there's a chef knife little series going on Will Stelter's channel. There's some really awful knives there, so if you want to see awful knives, um, go there instead. Okay, Will Stelter never made any of these knives. He makes professional, very good, high quality knives, as far as I see. I never used one. I hope I can do that one day.
You hit something just the wrong way, that knife is cooked. And to make things just a little bit harder, I have pretty limited tools, and the ones I have are cheap things I found at Harbor Freight and Amazon. Now this hammer strike right here was the start of something extremely painful and time-consuming that would take me over a month of my life and almost cost me my sanity. At this point, I realized that I was making virtually no progress with a little 4-pound hammer.
Because your hammer striking, you need more power within your strikes. Don't be afraid of hitting your hand. I've done worse.
I needed to get help, so I decided to recruit my brother and his friend to hold the metal while I bashed it with the maul. They were a little bit hesitant at first, but once we got going, I could tell that they were having fun. I mean, come on, what guy doesn't want to help forge a knife? This did move steel a lot easier than the little hammer, but I ended up putting quite a few dents in the metal that were pretty hard to get out.
Okay, so this thing has been flattened out, so now I can start shaping it. I'll probably mess it up, but I don't want to use the angle grinder.
For some reason, I thought I was some master bladesmith who had perfect...
I'm not a master bladesmith, but I have more metalworking experience than you, and you're doing just fine. You just need to pace yourself. Use the angle grinder more often. The angle grinder is actually the number one tool to fixing all of my problems. For example, your tool is stuck and the tools that you need to fix it already broke because it's rusted together. Solution: angle grinder.
Hammer technique and actually knows how to shape a blade. So I decided to forge out the knife instead of just cutting it out with the angle grinder. And this was a mistake.
It was a mistake because you're using a very wide stock.
I spent probably an hour trying to forge out that shape because I couldn't accept the fact that I was bad at forging. But thankfully, I realized that I was not as awesome as I thought I was and just decided to use the angle grinder. Alright. Before grinding, I needed to give myself a rough outline of what to cut, so I spray painted the shape onto the piece of steel.
That looks stupid.
A Sharpie would have done a better job, but I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help.
So let's start grinding this thing out.
Now this is the part where I actually feel like I'm doing something. The hours I had spent preparing this steel for this moment had felt kind of pointless, so it felt great when I actually started to see some progress. Just when I thought everything was starting to go well, disaster struck. You see how all those sparks are landing directly on my flannel? Well, that's not my flannel. It's my dad's. And it was like an LLB name brand expensive thing, and I burned a massive hole right in the middle of it. So I did the logical thing and called him, and to my surprise, he basically said, well, it's yours now. I mean, I guess it could have been a lot worse. At this point, I was getting pretty fired up about this project because I could finally start seeing the shape coming out, and I was one step closer to fulfilling Janetti's dream of having Junker Queen's knife. Earlier, I said that the knife was cut in half, and I'm not going to do that because that's just stupid. So instead, I planned on carving a fuller into the knife, which is just a groove, instead.
Which is a lot better than cutting the knife in half. I agree.
And when I came back the next day to do that, something happened that made everything so much more difficult.
So, it's a new day. And God, in His providence, decided to make it snow. So this is gonna make everything a lot harder.
While I was doing this, I was getting soaked from the snow. My clothes were all wet. The knife was getting wet. Everything was just wet. It was pretty miserable, and it was also pretty cold out too. So after grinding for a few hours, I really did not want to do any more work with this knife, and I really had to grind to get through it. See what I did there? Grind to get, yeah, see, you see.
Yeah, you're funny.
So I've decided I'm gonna forge in the bevels instead, because I don't want to grind for hours and hours of my life.
The bevels are the things that taper down into the edge, and I didn't want to grind all that out.
Again, if you want me to teach you hammer strikes, so you can actually forge bevels, there's a certain way that you're supposed to do it. Just putting the knife flat on the anvil is not a good idea. You could put very bad scratches on there that are just not professional.
This was definitely more fun than just using the angle grinder, but I was still kind of bored. So I decided to make some bottle openers while I was forging the knife.
Which is a okay idea if you're just trying to get hammer strikes ideas of what you're doing. Even if you're wanting to make a website, there's better ways. Sorry.
I needed to get some practice with this because I want to open my own website where I can sell my own handcrafted things and then sell it to you guys. If you have any ideas of what I can put on this website, just let me know in the comments. This was a super fun process because there was never a second of rest. I was either forging bottle openers or forging those bevels. But just like before, when I thought everything was going perfectly, one more thing happened.
I burned another hole in my clothes with the angle grinder.
I burned a hole like right around my crotch, so yeah, that was pretty weird. Well, it's day like 20-something I'm making this knife. I'm not really keeping track. So last night, I forgot to put my forging stuff away. I thought it wouldn't snow, but it did. It's gonna be all rusty now. And my mom got me an apron, It was going to be a Christmas present, but then she saw that I was getting holes in all my clothes, so she just gave it to me early, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so next step, I gotta punch some holes right here so I can draw.
Or you can drill them in. Do you have a drill? If you don't, I would recommend either getting a drill press from Harbor Freight, or a Black & Decker drill from either Amazon or wherever I got mine. Anyway.
Drive that, I don't even know what you call it, that little like metal chunk on there. So this is gonna be really hard because all my punches like bending whenever I try to use them. Like, what is that? End is bent. This is what you get for spending like $10 on these punches off of Amazon. Like, come on. So I'm gonna punch here and here. As you probably noticed from my voice, I was getting very disappointed about this project. Everything was just taking longer than I had originally planned. At first, I thought this project would take a week, maybe 2 weeks tops. But instead, I was on week 2, and at that point, there was no clear end in sight. Guys, this is so icy. This is not safe. I'm gonna like slip. With a huge hot knife in my hand. And I'm gonna like burn my foot off. So obviously, punching holes in the middle of your knife is not a good idea because cracks will form around that spot and it just makes the blade a lot weaker. But I wanted to stay true to the knife design, so I was willing to do it. And I'm sure the developers of Overwatch were not thinking that some kid was going to forge their knife, so they didn't really have a good design in mind. And my punch bent, so that was fun. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to put that little chunk of metal thing on there somehow. We'll see how this goes. I don't know, I'm a little scared that I just completely destroyed this thing. The piece of metal that I used for the knobs was actually found behind my school, so shout out to my English teacher for letting me keep it. Alright, I took a quick break, had some lunch. I got myself some coffee with a little bit of eggnog in it. It sounds kind of gross, but it's not that bad. So I got my little chunks of metal all cut out, and those will be used for these things right here. And that was only the beginning of my troubles with the knobs. Just doing that took me hours to grind out. Alright, so I'm out of propane. My angle grinder battery died. I really need to get a new one. So I'm just gonna start working on the handle. Got myself a piece of Brazilian hardwood. Seems expensive. And not sure how this is gonna go. At this point in the project, I just wanted to quit. It was below freezing, and things were just not going well. But then I remembered that Christmas was coming pretty soon, and I needed to get this done if I wanted to give it to Jeanette. Alright, got my scales cut out. This is gonna look good.
Excellent. Oh, I
I
accidentally.
really hope I don't have to redo this or anything, because that'd be really disappointing. I honestly had no plan on how to cut this thing out. I had never made an actual handle, and I was just winging it, and that ended up costing me. And then a great idea came to my mind.
Okay, so you have a drill. One thing. Chisels on hardwood. You do it right. Then cool. But I would really suggest a router. The best routers that the best router that I've used, and the only router that I used is in the link in the description below. It's made by Vivor, and the link is from Amazon. And well, they're pretty cool, and easy to get by.
Why don't I chisel with the grain right where it's gonna want to split? What am I thinking? See that? See that? That's what happens when you're stupid. I'm just gonna take a chunk out of this thing again. Guess I'll try this again. After that, morale was at an all-time low. I had to take another chunk out of this beautiful wood and make the handle all over again. I just wanted to quit. Got it cut out. Hope I don't mess this up. Get this thing cut out into shape. Guys, it's finally starting to look kind of like a knife. Like, I can see the vision. So next step, I need to drill a hole in that thing so I can actually fit the tang in. So this could also be like a make or break moment, because if I mess this thing up, I'm gonna have to start the handle completely over, and that could be that. None of my drill bits were long enough for this, so I...
Okay, titanium is a good choice to do what you're trying to do. Also, 4 bottles of canola oil. Also pretty cool. If you had a 4-inch by, I would say about 14 inches of PVC. And once all this snow clears out, I'll show you what I'm trying to do. What I usually do when doing something like that. You can also make it a through tang, so that spike would be a lot easier to put through. I'll show you guys how to do that as well. All right.
I ended up having to use a masonry drill bit, which made the...
That's not a good drill bit. They're good for already hardened steel, but not wood. Titanium or cobalt would be your best bet.
Process super long because the ends of those things are not sharp at all. I kind of split the handle a little bit, but oh, that's bad. Oh, holy. I got a little bit lazy, and instead of drilling the rest of the handle out, I ended up burning it in instead, which was pretty cool.
I mean, you wouldn't burn the tang through within that temperature. I would say heat it up to a orange, not a yellow close to white. But I gotta admit, the flames are awesome.
Holy. Guys, bad news.
Okay, kid. Good news. I just learned how to do my hidden tang knives, and well, you taught me how to. Think about that. You taught a professional how to do a hidden tang. That's pretty cool, if you ask me.
Bad news. That hole, too big.
Okay, it's a new day. Welcome back to the workshop. I'm regretting my decision of starting this knife. There were a bunch of random odds and ends I had to make for this thing, and right here, I'm making the guard. This is starting to take way too long, and I really don't want to finish this. It's just stretching out longer and longer than I want it to. I don't know. But even still, the guard needed to be finished. So I got this thing roughly fitted on, and then I'm gonna throw the whole knife in the forge just so I can fit it around this tang.
Which is pretty cool.
Well, it's not as cold today, but that means everything here is super muddy. Well, guys, something actually went right today. See this? See this? Fits on perfect.
And after that, it was time to quench. I filled up my dad's maple syrup bucket with a bunch of canola oil because you can get a lot of it for a pretty cheap price with great results.
Not even close. Oh, flip. Look at this. It's heart attack pouring into a bucket.
Alright, so it is now time to heat treat this thing. If I mess this up, this project will be for absolutely nothing. And Christmas is only like a week away, so I'm not gonna have any time.
Okay, so I knew a thing or two about hardening and tempering when I was in your age. I also didn't know anything about mild steel. Apparently, mild steel cannot be heat treated. But if you quench it in water, then nothing bad happens.
Time to remake this. Before quenching the knife, I had to normalize in order to prevent cracks from forming during the quench.
not a need to do that, but because it's 5160 spring steel. I could be wrong because I haven't used 5160 spring steel a lot. The only knife that I need to, well, you do not need to do that because you're using 5160. And the only knife that I've done using 5160 is this one right here. It's it looks like a Gudo, but he asked for a hunting knife within these dimensions. The handle, it looks cool, but I think it could do a better job, especially with me being lazy and putting this as a non-professional sale. So, anyway, back to your knife.
I heated up the blade to over 1500 degrees 3 different times and let it cool down because that's what ChatGPT told it to do. I gotta heat the oil up first because then it helps quench it better. Everything had been leading up to this very moment. It was time.
Three, two, one.
I don't think I did that good. I don't like that sound. Oh, sick. The file easily skated across the blade, which meant it was fully hardened. Alright, gotta temper this thing now. Bring this to the oven inside. Tempering makes the blade a little bit softer, but before I could use the oven, I needed my parents' permission. After permission was granted, I threw it in the oven. How do I preheat the oven? In between my two tempering cycles, I threw it outside to cool.
It's got a nice straw color to it. It's good.
My dad didn't want a crazy electricity bill, so he made me use the toaster instead. After heat treatment was done, I thought the worst was behind me, but I was so wrong. I didn't properly grind everything, so I spent hours trying to make the blade actually shiny, and then on top of that, I had to put all those loose odds and ends onto the knife. I'm going to put the spike in. Now this is the part where I start losing my mind, because everything started going wrong. My epoxy was super chunky and basically frozen.
That's why you keep your epoxy possibly either in your shop or in a place where it doesn't freeze. And what you're doing right now really worries me because you have a torch in your hand and you don't have a glove on. That's something that concerns me. Anyway, continue.
So I had to heat it up with a blowtorch. I couldn't just pour the epoxy in the hole because it was pretty much frozen, so I had to kind of shove it in there, which was super frustrating. So I've been trying to rivet in these little things right here to make a change of plans. I'm gonna try to epoxy these things together.
Do you want to know something? Maybe I should try making this knife myself. Showing showing at least this guy that this knife uh, is much easier to do than what he has done so far. And um, you know, I am not saying that as in this guy did not do a good job. He did an excellent job. And since he surprised a blacksmith myself on his knowledge of well, making anything. All right, continue.
As you can imagine, that did not end up working either, and all I did was make myself frustrated. I'm getting angry. I spent hours finicking with this thing, and I just decided to do something else.
Okay, I'm sick of being outside, so I'm gonna epoxy the handle in this basement.
I mean, at least in the basement, it wasn't below freezing, but still, things were not going according to plan. Remember how that hole was way too big? Well, I ended up shoving a shim in there, which did work, and it held everything together nicely. But after I got everything nice and snug, I realized something.
I forgot the tape. Oh no! I forgot to put on the thingy.
Guards.
And this is where I started losing my mind.
Oh my goodness gracious! Where's the saw? Gosh, it's broken in half. Stop the. Stop!
Yeah, that was not fun. I was super frustrated with everything else, so I decided to do something different, and I lathered that handle in probably too much linseed oil. After that, I decided to tackle my arch nemesis, the knobs.
Ladies and gentlemen, I found a solution. Can't grab it. This bolt, right there, you see that? With the washer on it?
Basically, I was going to try to thread the screws through the holes instead of riveting it on somehow.
Okie dokie. Piece number one.
Man,
It takes so long to like fit the holes together. Or just don't work. Just don't work then. Okay. Where did my screw just go? Okay, I'm schizophrenic. There was no screw that dropped.
I think I actually started going insane.
Wow. How am I actually doing this?
No way. If everything lines up.
No way. Guys, take a minute to consider how much of a miracle that is. 6 different holes drilled into like pieces of metal. They all line up. They all line up. They're out of order. Yes.
It may seem like I was overreacting, but after all the failures I had, one little win felt amazing. Before I put on some last finishing touches, I needed to try it out.
Alright, gotta do a couple more finishing touches. And this thing will be completed.
I had painted it before, but for some reason I blowtorched these pieces like 10 different times, so I had to paint it again. And after that, the knife was completed, but I still needed to give it to Janetti.
I'll spend a lot of fun making this, but I have to box it up now.
I was giving this to her on Christmas morning, so I had to wrap it up and say goodbye. And then came Christmas morning.
I can only imagine what this is.
That's awesome.
Looking back on it, this was one of the most difficult projects I've ever done. There were many times when I
yeah, video game projects are like that. And gee, I can't wait for my video game project. A video coming out hopefully next year, because oh man. Okay, well, I'm gonna end this video here. I know there's a little bit more, but oh my gosh, kid, if you keep on doing this, you would be more successful than I am right now at my age. We're gonna both be successful, but I believe if you signed up as an apprentice and if you're close to anywhere in Illinois, I'll I would be honored to teach you a thing or two if I get my master's. Uh, Freaking Bladesmith Society stuff. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A link in the description below of the video that I just uh freaking that I'm recording, that uh, the video that that I reacted to in the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.
I wanted to quit and just
Uh, dun, dun, dun.